You were saying?
He did not, in fact, get away with it. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and Six Up Battleship Test to that 6 plus. I think I got the right number. Show. We are nerds, and we talk about nerdy things. You know this. That is why you are here. And today, if you're one of those people who likes to know when they stop talking about themselves and start talking about the main event, I've got terrible news. All we're going to do is talk about ourselves because we had a great big event up in Barnsley. It was a big success. We had a wonderful time. It was our first ever GT. And that is what we're going to be dwelling upon tonight, telling all the stories, talking through what happened. We can dwell a little bit on the meta. I mean, I don't think the lessons from that are nuanced or complicated, but we can certainly share.
There's certainly one headline.
There's certainly one headline. We could certainly share some takeaways from the post-data slate meta, because obviously I think we were probably one of the first events in the world to have that in play, and we got to see exactly what that looked like in all its glory as well. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. We will, of course, field questions from you, the lovely chat. We will be giving you your dues shortly. We will definitely be doing some podcast questions towards the end. But before any of that, I'm going to introduce my cast of players, starting where I typically like to start.
Yeah, it's not always.
It's not always. No. It's when there's someone I really need to impress on the show. It is my dear leader, Chris. Chris, how you doing?
I'm getting there. I didn't really like after a weekend of playing 40k. Like the Monday, I'm a bit flat. I struggle. I didn't realize it was going to be even worse having run a tournament.
Yeah,
it genuinely is worse. Like just spent the whole of Saturday just like dead. Like everyone at work was like, "Oh yeah, you look really rough." Like, thanks, guys. And yeah, even today, I was just at work. I was like, I just want to do 40k things. You know, like, I'm motivated. I do not want to be dealing with little children. Just so you know, I hit a child in the face with a dodgeball today. It was an entire accident. We were practicing throwing at moving targets, and I didn't come up with this plan, just to clarify, but some children were running down an alleyway and they were having dodgeballs thrown at them, and I had a go, and I nailed a 6-year-old in the face with a dodgeball. So
any new viewers, he is a teacher.
It was just me outside in the park, organising free activities. So that was an element of my day. That's how my life's going right now.
Excellent. All right. Well, yeah, I feel the exact same as you. I think the sort of the climb down from the event is still ongoing. It was definitely two very knackering days, the last couple of days. But obviously, I think that just paints to what a good time we had and how energized we are off the back of all of it. Isn't that right, Chris?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was genuinely an incredible experience.
Yeah, I think we were all very touched, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But it felt like the culmination of a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of energy, and it was just really, really fun to observe. So we'll get stuck into that in a moment. There are more people to introduce. You've heard his sultry tones already. It is the true Archon. It's the lovely Rob Kimpton. Rob, how are you doing?
Yeah, really well. Absolutely done like you guys. I didn't expect it. I was like, this is going to be fine. Sunday night, came home like, it's going to be fine. Monday morning, just absolutely done.
Yeah. It's a lot. I think there's so much concentrating. You just concentrate, I think, for the entire thing. And there's a lot of like, it's gradual moving around, and it just wears you right down, doesn't it?
It was good fun, though. It was so much fun just talking to everyone. You know, you go to a weekend tournament and you talk to 5 people a lot. You do this, and I talk to, I think, almost every table, multiple times walking around, so it's really nice.
Yeah, exactly. You make a lot of friends. Obviously, we knew a lot of people there already, but you get to know everyone else. You tried your hand at commentating as well, didn't you, Rob?
Twice, yeah. I got to commentate the first time on 2 armies I didn't know, which was great fun. Hopefully didn't show too much. And, then I got to commentate a Space Wolves mirror.
Yes, with our very own
very silly Paul James dice game.
And obviously you will have the lowdown on those games, which we'll come back to as we start making our way through the event. I'm very excited to hear how they go. Finally, we're also joined tonight by someone who actually played at our first ever GT. Not only that, but claimed silverware at our first ever GT. Claimed goldware. Claimed possibly
Aragorn.
The most important, possibly the most important bit of trophy that you can get, which was the best overall.
It was.
How are you feeling, Ben?
I think I'm actually caught some sort of bug from this event. You know, you can feel it brewing in the back of your throat. So, one of you dirty buggers, some of the 60 of you has given me a lurgy.
Lee Churchwood said he'd been like super rough for a week or two, and he was just coming out the other side. So
John also was sick. Yeah.
Well, I know I didn't like them, so there we go.
I can say for once that it definitely wasn't me. So there we go. I'm not going to ask anyone if they've done any hobbying because I know for a fact that absolutely no one would have done it.
Actually,
what? Okay.
As you know, this weekend a battle report was filmed featuring custodies, and I had 2 shield captains, and they weren't distinguishable. So for about 2 minutes, I painted gold on the back of a shield captain cloak, the little emblem bit on their cloak. So about 2 minutes of painting was done by me this week. So just
I'm really glad that got 25 seconds. That's
suck on that, guys.
Yeah, that's Chris finally pulling ahead in the hobby state.
In the lead.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to shout out the chat. We'll do a tiny bit of self-promotion because we are very good at self-promotion, possibly the best. Although, admittedly, I've got a lot less to promote to you now.
No longer do we need to keep.
Yeah. So let's see who's in. Martin Dorr is in. It was very nice to see Martin Dorr. When we start telling the story of the event, we've got nice stories about Martin Dorr. Kelvin Powell is in. Pickalax is in. Gordy is in. Hello, Gordy. Gordy asks who won. We'll get to that, Gordy. No spoilers. George Hutley's in. Sticky Knickers says, nobody panic. I'm here. That's the attitude that we want. Adam is in. Zito is in. Josh Cowler says, finally, Orcs players being enabled to be the skilled players that they are. Yeah, absolutely. So Josh Cowler, for the last couple of months, I've been practicing against him. He's been playing Tactical Brigade for most of that time. Josh loves Warhorn. And for all of that time, he's been saying, I can't wait for them to nerf Tactical so I can go back to playing Melee and have a nice time. And he was messaging me the other night saying, oh, no, we're stuck. Stuck on the gun for a little bit longer. So sorry about that, Josh. Alrighty, let's take it through to a self-promotional place. Right, so we make videos. You know this. There are videos coming out. There's the Greater Greatness series is continuing, so you're going to be seeing some more of that going forwards. And we've got Jack Chapman is next out. That went out today. He is on a journey with the Astra Militarum, although, as we'll get to later, he might be on another journey as well now, following our prize draw. Tomorrow, we've got a report all about Ben's journey at our own GT, which we're very excited for. And then we have a very special fight night on Thursday, which involves the lovely Rob here playing against our very own Ed Watts. Rob, what are you running for that?
I'm running Drukari with Wheat Reaper's Wager
nice.
Against some AdMech of some type of flavour that's a million bodies, I presume.
Yes, I believe it is. I believe it's Ed's South Coast Super Major list, which I think is anti-elf Radzone core.
Oh, this is going to be fucking great.
So we will certainly get to see what Radzone core does, and I think that should be a great watch. Oh man! Beyond that, of course, we have just run an event. It was a great success. All the people that came to it, amazing. We will be running more, but we have to cook those yet, so the details of those are not yet with us. But just to remind you to please hit the old like and subscribe. Please do leave us a comment. All that stuff is wonderful. If you'd like to sign up and support us financially as a YouTube member, we've got over 100 now. We'd love to have you with us. We're making lots of members-only content and got big plans for that as we speak, so thank you for that. Finally, if you are interested in 40k coaching, then of course we have a whole team of people running that out of a brand new shiny coaching Discord. Again, grand plans for a lot of really fun interactive coaching sessions and group sessions going forward. So get in touch and we'll sort you out for that as well. That's the self-promotion as far as I can think. So we're going to move forward to telling a story now. And we're going to tell the story of our first ever grand tournament. And we're going to start where stories often start, which is trying to source the original ideas. Where did this concept even begin? Chris, do you remember when we first even thought of doing an event?
No.
No, neither do I, to be honest. I was hoping you would.
No, I think as all 40k players, we all play events. We're like, how hard can it be? Wouldn't it be cool if we did one of those things? And then it was like, well, that would involve us hiring out a venue, which that sounds a bit of hard work. And then, then we need tables at the venue, and we need mats, and we need terrain, and that sounds like a lot of hard work and a lot of money. Oh well.
We don't like either of those things.
That's not for us. That's not how we operate. No. So they kind of got canned as an idea. Then Mr. John Swallow went and obviously set up a fancy shop called Prestige Wargaming.
Yeah.
And at the same sort of time, reached out to us and sort of said, you know, would you like to work together? You know, just that sort of like you put a little stinger on our videos just to promote the website. I'll offer you some deals, etc. And you're welcome to use our venue. And so, yeah, I think after that, we kind of thought, well, why not? Let's push it. And then it's just one of those things where, you know, how we function is sometimes we'll have a really hot idea and we'll just do it and it'll be great. And the other 70% of the time, we'll have a really hot idea and then not do anything about it and just sit on it. And eventually, you know what? Most of our ideas do come to fruition in some form or the other. It just takes a bit of time, a few attempts at it, etc.
Yeah.
I think last year, just something finally clicked, didn't it? And we were just like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let's book it for March, and we'll kind of go from there, really. And I guess that's the origin. Once we'd got that sorted, I spoke to 4 fine individuals. So we had obviously Rob and Tom here, but we also had Davey and Scrivo. We accrued our little team, sort of asked them, do you guys want to come and help organise the event? You won't get to play. And yeah, we kind of got the ideas in motion. I remember the first time really getting into it was the summer holidays, and I was at this little local place with a fake beach with my girlfriend and her son and his friend, and they were off playing, and it was just really warm. And I was sat on my phone just researching tournament trophies and like doing a Google Doc of all the things we had to do and that sort of thing. And that, you know, when you got a buzz for an idea, it's really fun, isn't it? And then, over the last few months, obviously, we started selling tickets. We tried to build up a bit of an announcement. We had that teaser trailer, and then we had that quite fun video where
I forgot about
that. Yeah, do you remember the actual video, Tom?
I do remember the actual video. Yeah, we
had to get the bleeper out.
We quite heavily censored it because
we had to censor it.
And how do you think our event would have gone if we'd given people what I suggested we give them, Chris?
It would have been a very different experience.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. But yeah, and then obviously over time, I think when we first released it, within the first 3 hours, we'd sold out half the tournament, which was great. The next 30 tickets didn't sell quite as quickly. To be fair to say, but yeah,
I think that's the two types of Warhammer players, right? Kicking in, you know, there's the group that are like, got my shit, gonna sort it out, know where I'm gonna be, and then a few weeks before, there's all the Warhammer players like, what am I doing in a couple of weeks' time? Oh, okay, and it all works out in the end.
That's what we were holding out for. We didn't have too many dropouts either, which was nice. We had 4 dropouts, and 3 of those were from our own team. Shocking. But yeah, and I think I just kind of it did sneak up a bit, you know, like you're always like, yeah, I've got plenty of time, we'll do this, we'll do that, and then you're like, oh no, we haven't actually organised that, and there's now only like a month to go. Oh no, 3 weeks to go. So, but overall, I think we kind of achieved nearly everything that we had set out to do.
Yes.
In terms of the actual kind of event and that, and you know, you put your best laid plans in, and you think, yeah, I've done an event, and then I start writing a mission pack. I'm like, actually, what do you put in a mission pack? And I'm like reading all these other mission packs, trying to work out little things, and then you send it out as a draft, and people are like, well, you've missed this, and I'm like, yeah, okay, my fault. And yeah, I think probably for me personally, one of the biggest successes from the event was the WhatsApp groups.
Yes.
So we set up an announcement WhatsApp group where people couldn't talk. It was just me sending out announcements. And then we've got another WhatsApp group, which is for all people who would ever enter a 6++ event. So the people who've been to the first one are obviously going to be in there for as long as they wish. Mm-hmm. And then the next event, new people will get added to that group, and it's just an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
But what it enabled was a huge amount of talk and discussion and build up, and people get to know
a lot of
organised thing. And we'll get into it, but probably my overwhelming favourite part of the event was just the vibe. Like, there was just such a positive and social vibe about the event, whilst also people were kicking each other's teeth in. Yeah. And I think the WhatsApp group was a huge part of that.
Completely.
And we shamelessly stole that idea from the tournament in Spain. So thank you. And also Hellstorm do that as well.
Yes, I was going to say Hellstorm. Yeah, Hellstorm very much did it. So, but those are 2 events that we all regarded when we were thinking about what we want an event to be. We were like, what are the best ones we've ever been to? And
absolutely.
Those 2 very much on the list, I think, those guys.
So yeah, we kind of We thought we had it already. We were hopeful that it would be a good event, but you never know, do you? You know, we were waxing lyrical about how wonderful Prestige Wargaming is as a venue.
We'd never been.
We'd never been there. We had absolutely no idea. We'd seen
absolute chances.
Yeah, but you know what? Whoa.
We were right.
We were absolutely right. Prestige Wargaming. Think about any event you go to, and think of a classic UKTC. You rock up on the Saturday morning. You go into the big sports hall. You find your table. You play your games. Before you know it, it's 8:30 at night, and you're getting lost in Coventry because it's a horrendous place to drive. And then you eventually find your hotel and you're parking, and it's gone 9 o'clock, and you're like, what should we do? And then you might get a taxi into town. But it's just a bit of a headache, isn't it? Wow.
It is a headache, Chris.
It is a headache. Thank Prestige Wargaming. You drive into the beautiful Barnsley, and you get greeted by this sign which says Barnsley, place of possibilities.
Which is what I've always thought.
That is literally, and
for us, that's truly what it's been.
There are good and bad possibilities in Barnsley.
Oh, there's so many possibilities, yeah, for sure.
But shortly after passing the sign, you turn into a car park. And you're like, oh, the Premier Inn's already here. Perfect. I wonder where Prestige Wargaming is. Oh, it's a 2-minute walk. Okay.
It could not be closer. Really.
And then, this is a very nice store. And we'll talk about that later. But then, it's lunchtime. Everything is like a 3-4 minute walk. It's Taco Bell, Rob's new favourite food.
Oh, so good.
It's so good.
There's KFC, there's Greg's, there's all sorts. And then you're like, oh, wow, that was a wonderful day of 40k. And because the tournament organisers are so clever, we've actually already finished at 7:45. And food's booked for 8:30. And you mean we've got time to walk back to the hotel, get ready, and then walk straight to this wonderful, really fancy place called The Botanist. Great food, great drinks, etc. All for 8:30. And then we can just 10-minute walk back to the hotel whenever we feel like it. Wow.
It worked incredibly well, didn't it, in that sense? And I think that's something a lot of people have said since. What it meant was it was actually very easy to kind of have all the people socialising and working and sort of hanging out together, and it made organising things and getting people out in the evenings for food and stuff just really straightforward. And actually, it's incredibly relaxing when you can basically fall from your hotel into the venue on the Sunday as well. It makes life very, very easy.
And talking about the venue itself, it's John, obviously, as a top-tier player, has considered a lot about just tournaments and the sort of thing you want in tournaments, So he's put a lot of thought into that. It's just really nice. It's got a nice bar area. It's just good temperature. Toilet plus gives it a good, solid score.
It was actually very solid. One on each floor was a good call. Well done, John.
And then you had a very romantic room for table number 1, because on the third floor is this one room.
John's little gaming room of his own.
Where the door shuts, and then there's a bedroom next door if you really want to enjoy the Warhammer. It's and that's a nice place to block things off. We would have streamed in there, but the ceiling's slightly too low.
Yeah, we might try and see if we can work that out in the future.
Yeah, exactly. There are ways of solving that. Just absolute shout out to John. And I think overall, his hosting was. I don't know him too well, but he's such a nice guy, and
he's a great
guy.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's fun.
He was very, very chirpy. He clearly loves the job, loves the people, and loves the venue, and he kept us very well served, whilst also basically just chipping in with the misbehaviour and the banter as well, and that was nice to see.
It's so much fun to have him around.
He lent me some trousers as well. Thanks, John. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah. So Tom bought one pair of trousers for the entire weekend, and we were like, "Well, we're going to go out in the evening." And he was like, I did not think this through.
Well, it's because I thought I'd be fine, and then Paul got turned away from a Wetherspoons because he had tracksuits. I was like, maybe I won't be fine.
In Barnsley, those standards are high.
That's the thing. Possibilities, but not entering this pub with those trousers on.
We were like, we put on the WhatsApp group, very handy, does anyone have some spare trousers? At which point, John Stoddard was like, yeah, I got some. Went upstairs, came down, brand new in box, as you'd want.
They were literally fresh, like all the aspect warriors I bought.
Davey brought the wrap bags with him because why not?
Davey was dressed as a Biophagus on the Saturday, and so he had some belts.
Dr. Robotnik, yeah.
Carl Cook asked how well do they fit. My understanding is that baggy trousers are now the fashion. So let's just say they were the fashion. Let's call it that. Yeah, I mean, you can really tell that John has a lifetime of experience in venues, right? I feel like the venue is set up for that. It's incredibly convenient. You've got loads of table space. You've got tons of seating, which makes a massive difference. And bar, shop, I think all located really well, and it all fits together incredibly nicely. Chris Clark says this location sounds enough to convince me to go in the future. Honestly, It is just phenomenally easy to plug into. I think that was the biggest thing. Like especially if you're booked at the Premier Inn opposite, where the vast majority of people were, it couldn't be more straightforward.
It's so cheap. If you booked early enough, it was £90 for 2 nights.
Yeah, it was really, really good. So I haven't actually had an event away on that kind of sort of budget in a long time, and it was very, very possible to do it there. So yeah, really awesome.
And I think obviously we're first time. Not many people, especially in the Midlands and down south, have heard of Prestige Wargaming as a venue. Barnsley doesn't exactly fill you with tropical delights in terms of imagery of where you're going to go. Not many people have probably been to Barnsley before, but I know a lot of people I would have loved to come, but it's quite far away. Well, let me tell you,
worth it.
We had lots of people come from down south. Okay, so like Reading, Aidan came from Reading. We had quite a few Londoners. They're all like, "Yeah, please run another event this year." We had people drive like hours and hours and more hours from Cornwall. Shout out to the Cornwall crew.
Yeah, they're legends.
Like they were amazing, and they drove all the way up from Cornwall. And then we even had Jerry, who came over from Brussels.
Yeah.
Like, if someone can come over from Brussels and have an amazing time, then you too can come over to one of our events and have an amazing time.
100%. Now, I'm going to be asking Chris about the people that filled this venue in just a moment, but because he's mentioned Jerry, and we've already mentioned Martin Dorr, I want to tell a little story, and that was the story of Dave and Davey going up on the Friday. We arrived on the Friday, and we were going to film a bat rep, which with hindsight was a mistake, because there's 10 million wargamers around you, and the thing about wargamers is they don't really care what you're doing. And that's something you'll learn when you're around them for a long time. They're very interested in things, but paying attention to what others are doing, not so much. So we'll see how that turns out. But there's a lot of very excited chatter in the background. But it was very fun to play the Votan Hearth. But as we were playing that, I saw 2 people down the end already playing a game. And I went over there, and it was Jerry who had flown from Belgium that day. Not only had he flown that day, he had asked if someone from the community could give him a lift. And Martin Dorr, who was also coming up for our event, volunteered to give him a lift. So Martin had gone to the airport, picked Jerry up, brought him to the venue. They had a game together on the Friday before going to the event. And Jerry kicked Martin's shit in as well. Because as it turned out, Jerry used to play for Team Belgium. And it's quite a dab hand at 40k, which I was really enjoying watching across the weekend. Because he's called, I think in our community, he's called Jerry's Painting Progress. But obviously, Jerry is far more than just a painter, although his army of salamanders was absolutely beautiful as well. So I thought that was wonderful and very much encapsulated the kind of the ethos, the going the extra mile that the people we sort of put around us are about. But Chris, I thought I'd let you expound a bit more. Once we've got this community of people together and all these people have bought tickets and got in a building, what were the vibes like? What were the people like?
Oh, well, unfortunately, we had to let in some people like Trash Wargaming and that sort of lot.
Yeah.
You got to be nice, haven't you, to those sorts of folk. Ben, who did you have from Trash who came?
Did we have? We had me, Josh, and Ash Farn. So it's just the 3 of us that came up.
But you've got a reputation, guys, as a lovely team. So some Trash guys. Rob, here's a test for you. I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Don't you dare look at BCP. Who from 6++ came to this event?
Oh, there was everyone on stream right now.
Very good. Very good. Well done.
Well, we had Lee, we had Harley.
Mm-hmm.
Who else was out? Patrick. First time I met Patrick. What a lovely guy.
Isn't he lovely? Isn't he wonderful?
Special mention to Patrick, who at some point was like, "Look, my opponent's trying to avoid a heroic intervention. We're just trying to work out quite whether it's possible. Could you help him to avoid the heroic intervention? Well, I personally have never asked a judge to help my opponent with a tactical move, but Patrick is that guy. He's so nice.
He's honestly the nicest man in the world. He did well this weekend as well. He got some good results.
Yeah, some tough games. Tough
match. Tough match. Oh, yeah, the Jakari Live. But no, I thought Patrick did great.
Yeah. Anyone else, Rob?
Thank you, Gav. Ed?
Ed Watts was there.
Ed Watts was there. Oh, was he there?
Well,
there was so many of us. I can't list them.
Yeah,
we don't have time.
No, we don't. Right there. In fact, I think there were about 15 of us. Shout out to all the Fenland crew that Rob has missed.
Yes,
who also made the drive up. Special shout out to JB East, who obviously East Air Conditioning did sponsor some of the event and some of our prizes as well. Paul, who got to play on stream twice in a very exciting moment, which was very fun.
Oh my word!
And Dave, who did very well in the sportsmanship stakes, as always. But yeah, so we had that, and I said in like kind of speech at the end, like as a community, we've tried to build up a really positive community. Our team, we are very stringent and we think very carefully about who we allow in our team, based on how they conduct themselves at the tabletop. We would never. For example, one of our policies is if someone who wants to join us one of our players has had like a bit of an uncomfortable game and felt they weren't a great opponent, then that person we just won't let them in our team. We're not interested in those sorts of people. And I think what was so nice was just how everyone embraced that. And it was just such clear proof that you can have a great time, you can play high quality. There were multiple like Team England type players there, and you can play at a really high quality and have an amazing time doing it. And it was just, I don't know, like obviously from our perspective, it felt great in terms of the vibes. But like Ben, would you agree?
The vibes were immaculate. Like it was amazing. Everybody was on form. It was so friendly, and like. Complete randos, none of us really knew each other, right? Like you go in your little teams, and often like these bigger events, you'll stay with your little huddle of people, and that'll be it. But you couldn't walk down a corridor without just talking to someone else and being like, it was so friendly there. Like it's hard to put into words, but
I agree. It was just like
time.
It was an atmosphere. I think like that number of people felt right. Like people mention, like, oh, would you find like had a lot of requests to like run something down south, and obviously if you ran something down south, you had the whole terrain venue type issue. But you get greedy. Well, it's still 120 player type thing. Well, as soon as you do that, you start losing the personal touch. And we were very keen to run an event, not a tournament. And I think 60 players kind of feels like a really good number.
And I agree.
It's part of the like Ben says, like you can't really avoid anyone. It's part because of the layout of the store. Two corridors with basically with tables either side on the corridor. So you have enough space. Don't get me wrong, but you're whenever you're walking, you're seeing people and talking to people. So it's just in some way. The venue like encourages like the communication.
I agree.
It does. Yeah.
Works really well for TOing as well because you can just sweep right up and down those halls, get a good perspective on everything. But yeah, I think you had that buy-in. You had people talking to each other across the different groups. We had socials in the evening where again we had a bunch of different people with us from different teams, and all the other groups right in the same restaurant and stuff as well. And that felt really really good. But I think there was just an ethos. The main thing for me was the laughs and the entertainment and the fun being had across the different games. I came up to so many different games where people were just giggling and having a really silly time with it. And don't get me wrong, like there were killings. It was not like it was a competitive event. People were still absolutely taking each other down. There were all the usual huge scores one way or the other, all the draws, all the drama. But it just felt like the fun and the silliness around it was very much at the heart of it and was never lost sight of. And I watched some really, really good, tough games in different directions of different kinds being played in a really, really high spirit and people being really friendly and having a great time afterwards as well.
I don't think we had any things we had to do as TOs really, except for tiny little interaction.
It was extremely chilled.
Yeah,
it was extremely chilled.
It's really impressive.
I think there was very, very little to manage on that side, and there was certainly nothing. There was never anything malicious to manage at any point. Right? That was that. We were never dealing with that. We had no bad actors whatsoever, and I think on some levels you hope that's exactly what we'd have, but you have to see it, right? You actually, that's like you're like in theory.
Practice was really
in theory, based on who likes this stuff and who we know, it should be really nice. But you actually, it's really cool to see. But I think the thing is that it amplifies when you actually have all those nice people in the environment. It really, really takes it up and makes it even better. And that was super, super cool. We've not even mentioned David yet as well, streaming the whole thing. Yeah. Who was, again, there was someone who, I'd worked with at WTC the year before, and he'd said, as soon as you guys do an event, let me know, I'll come and stream it and sort of try and pay it forwards, as it were. And he was just incredible. It's a lot of work setting up and running a stream.
I didn't genuinely have the idea. Like, he's got like some NASA.
Chris came and sat down next to me and was like, "We are never doing this."
Yeah. No, like
I was like, we wouldn't be friends if we tried to run one of these.
He's got like 3 screens. He's got like a NASA supercomputer there, like multiple cameras, like the whole rig. He came up on the Friday to set up. Like it's just, it's like fair play. And yeah, he was just like, he's so good on it, and like he's got all the stuff, and definitely going to be utilizing him more in the future.
Yeah, 100%. We had a couple of questions. Sam asked the number of people. So, yeah, it was 53, 54 playing places.
In the end. And then we had a drop Mike Duff, or one of the favourites with his more Dakka.
I know, with his narrative always.
I won't embarrass Mike on stream about what happened to him, but it wasn't very pleasant, apparently.
Mike was having a tough day.
He was very ill, so he dropped after round 1. We had 50, then it went down to 52.
Let's not skip over the fact that he did, in fact, get his round 1 in, though. Demolished someone in record time, and then went home.
Yeah. Job was done. Started Josh's weekend off with a bang.
Josh Wood got shellacked, then got told that he had actually, because Mike had dropped, we're going to give him a win, and then got paired into Orcs again in the subsequent round. He came up to me on the Sunday and was like, I wish you hadn't given me that win. I was like, I'm not going to apologise for putting you in the 1 win bracket, Josh. Like, you've really got to be able to handle those heights. Your plan can't be to go on the 1 loss bracket immediately and make your way up. So it was very, very, very funny.
But what he has done, though, by dropping Orcs, he won no games with Orcs over the whole weekend.
Oh, the win rate's gone right down.
Win rate's gone down.
Yeah.
They are absolutely fine.
Yeah, we'll obviously we'll circle back to Orcs, but I think what we're going to do now is just sort of shimmy our way through the rounds that we had, because we had 5, and just pick out any stories, check in on how Ben's journey is going, because Ben was obviously living this shit, and we can talk about whoever was on stream or doing any other exciting things as well. So we are going to start with round 1. That is often, I'm told, a logical place to start. And then, Chris, you actually got to play some Warhammer in round 1, didn't you?
I actually did. Because we had 53 and we had the ringer. And it just so happened, Duncan, who I'd driven up with Jack Tite from Cambridge. Duncan, absolute hero.
Lovely guy.
We'd never played before. I'd driven him to like 3 or 4 events. But yeah, he had a buy, and we were like, "Look, do you want to play, or would you like to have a line?" He was like, "I'll play." So I got to give my Custodes a run out.
Oh, nice!
When you come from having played an army like Grey Knights, or in fact Eldar, Custodes are slightly different to that. And it's a learning experience, I'll tell you guys. But no, it was really fun. So all we did was Duncan got to go first, and he just full sent his Vanguard onslaught list.
Yes, Duncan! Live my dreams.
Cool. I'm going to do the same thing. And we just had a bit of a punch up. And then he went in sneaky boy later on. He went in deep strikes 6 zones in my backfield. So the Wardens went galloping after them, and then failed their advance and charge. So my Wardens did pretty much nothing in the game. But we had a lot of fun. It was very cool. And I'll be honest, I think I absolutely nailed the ringer roll, because I lost 74-73.
Oh, beautiful. Dream. It's a beautifully done thing.
Nailed it. It was. But no, it was really fun, and I think it was good for Duncan just to have that warm up. Let's think about our our first round games, you quite often have those little mistakes you make and stuff. And so Doug was just able to warm up and roll dice. And I got my fix of playing Warhammer, which is obviously, so my balls weren't quite as blue as maybe some other people.
Yeah, I think Davey and I, it was good to play the game on the Friday night. That just kind of ticked that off. I was like, I've done some Warhammering now. Definitely stirred some feelings in my heart about Votan. It's just nice to just not be killed when people shoot. I could get used to that, and they're very good at it. Just shove 20 Hearthguard on points and go deal with it. It's a very, very good time. Hello, Scribbler in the chat. That is Emma. Hi, Emma. Hope you're well. Ben, your journey begins in round 1, of course. I assume you're looking to take this event down. You've obviously got your Drakari. So what?
I mean, it's not an RTT, so it seems like
I was already immediately on the back foot. I was having to play more than 3 games.
It's tough. The stamina issues.
But we know you're really good at winning 3 games.
I can win 3 games.
Hopefully that happens over the weekend.
We can only hope.
We can only hope. But I did have lovely Jack Chapman round 1.
Our very own Jack Chapman. Wonderful. How was that game?
What a dream. It was hilarious. He just full sent me turn 1 with stuff, idiots and piranhas.
I did see him do that, and I was so proud of him because he's learned that is what Drakari don't typically enjoy, is a bunch of stuff in the grill.
He tried to put me in towel jail, and I was like, I took that personally. That was a really, really fun game against Jack. I did get him. I did.
Squeezed out the win.
Took him down.
My personal favourite about watching that game when I was TOing twice, not once, twice, I saw you do 27 mortal wounds to a battle suit with a single squad of Scourge.
Whoa. Sustained haywire.
That is unreasonable, Ben. That is deeply unreasonable.
My dice were pretty hot. they were a bit ridiculous, that game.
Bonkers. So that's a nice tidy win for Ben. Meanwhile, we had the stream on. I'm trying to remember what we covered in game 1.
Gav Perry with the
of course we did. Yes,
New Demon.
So we had a very interesting game between Gav Perry and Peter Duff. Obviously, we know Pete Duff very well. He was playing the new Shadow Legion demons. So he had Bellicor, he had some Warp Talons, he had a Bloodthirsty, he had a bunch of chaffy, uppy-downy demons and Beasts of Nurgle. And this game really swung. Gav Perry was also playing a list you know very well, wasn't he, Rob?
Yeah, he's on Vanguard Shrike.
Yes, actual Raven Guard.
Right, actual Raven Guard.
Yeah, and so I think there was some tanks. There was a Ballistus, which we'll come back to. There were some small little there were some Bolterceptors, there was some infantry. And this was an interesting game. I think both players were still warming up a bit. And the basic story of this match was Pete Duff learned that don't put Greater Demons in front of O's of Moment. That's not good. Don't do that. But then I think Gav was also a bit unfortunate in that when a moment came to prosecute his advantage, having dropped Bellicor, dropped a Bloodthirster, he got held up by a Beast of Nurgle down a flank. One Beast of Nurgle just stood in front of a Judicia and some Assault Instance and said, "You are never actually ever killing your way out of this. I'm going to stand in the way." So the flank that should have folded just didn't, because this Beast of Nurgle held it up. And then, unfortunately for Gav, Pete was able to sort of sneak it by just staying really rigorous on primary admissions. So it was a barnstormer. It swung several different ways. Lots of fun. So I don't know, were there any other sort of major headlines in round 1? Was there any sort of spicy matches?
I mean, I think people got to start to experience what orcs were like in terms of firepower. I know.
Yes.
Jamie East, our dear Jamie East, was playing into Courtney's orcs. And I was like, mate, it's rough. You've just got to hide. Now, for those of you who have played against Jamie East before, you will know that
he does not hide.
That is something he probably struggles with a bit. And sure enough, he was quite clearly the first. He won the spot prize for the first person to be tabled by orcs.
He did.
He was pretty much done in 2 turns.
Yes, that was Courtney Rhodes, wasn't it? I don't think Courtney even had tons of the orc shooting, to be honest.
No,
but obviously, he had enough.
You don't need it when you got shock attack guns. That's all I'll say. So we've obviously we saw some elements of like kind of that sheer firepower going on in round 1.
100%. A bunch of our teammates got some good wins, so some nice results all over, and it's that usual round 1 stuff. There's a few mismatches of sort of expectation and ability, but it all started to level itself out. So that takes us into the second round. I'm trying to remember who was commentating on this one. Was this when you commentated, Rob?
I did.
Or was this when Chris was? You did 3 and 4.
Because
Chris.
we had a plan. We were going to put on Oliver had brought 20 Alaris Terminators to the event. 18 legend captains. And the idea was we put them on stream to second game. It'd be fun. Unfortunately, he then paired into someone who wasn't able to go on to stream. And so we decided instead to put on a very, very tasty matchup, which was our very own Harley on Yunari versus Lee Churchwood.
Spicy.
Two of Alfarius's staples going at it.
Lee on the creations of Fire.
Neither of them had played the matchup before, but neither of them, both of them felt confident in the match. So that's always really exciting, isn't it? When both players tell their captain they're going to win the game. And so we had Lee, who was like, I'm just going to run him over at the end. Harley's like, yeah, but I've got fights first. And he's like, yeah, but you can't fight first everywhere at the same time, can you, mate? And Harley's like, but I've got fights first. And so, that was I got to commentate on that game, and that was very fun. Now, unfortunately, the overwhelming issue in this game was time. So they spent a little bit too long probably telling each other about each other's lists because neither of them had played the game.
I've got fight first.
I'm going to run at you.
Yeah.
And they took a bit, so they started a bit later than probably you'd hope. And we all knew that realistically, so my prediction was if Lee goes first, it's a big win for Lee. If Harley goes first, it's going to be close. And Harley got to go first, so he set up his move blocks. Everything's good. Lee, he did some things, not much, and he definitely
tentative. I think
he gave Harley an in to basically kill a Chaos Knight for free and set up a bunch of move blocks. As Harley we spoke afterwards, Harley didn't, in his deployment in his turn 1, he didn't set up for the move blocks for turn 2, which meant he therefore allowed Lee the chance to do what he wanted, which was just to plunge 3 giant bricks of scary units straight into the heart of the enemy. On top of that, the Fire Dragons decided that they wouldn't bring pure fire. They brought water instead. And just did nothing to this Chaos Knight, which was actually a big swing because we were talking about points. Harley managed to get a 15. If he move blocks again, he gets another 15. Lee puts Lee on a 5, and then next turn puts him on a 0 with his Warp Spiders. That's starting to create quite a big differential, which Lee won't be able to catch up by going second. He didn't get the move blocks in place, and it meant that Lee could then charge in. Unfortunately, the side effect of this was quite possibly the most ridiculous, boring, complicated fight phase in bottom of turn 2 I've ever seen in my life. This fight phase took nearly 40 minutes.
This was bananas. It was everything in both armies fighting at once.
Everything slammed in with heroic interventions everywhere. Lee charged a load of units. There was heroic interventions. There was multiple fight first. We're playing the WTC rules for fighting through walls, which adds a whole extra thing with pile-ins. We had multiple judge calls coming in just to try and establish what could happen. Just one fight phase took, a quarter of the entire time. And what it essentially led to was there was 2 hours gone, and we were only just hitting turn 3. And because of that, it became really, really frantic at the end. And I think, on commentary we were watching it, Lee just was constantly threatening just to run him over. And Harley, to his credit, did a great job of trying to play really quickly. And he said he's watched it back and he spotted little mistakes, but you can only go with your gut and instinct when you don't have time to plan it. You've just got to I think I'll do this, this, and this. And they were just trying their hardest to get through the game. And I think, we called it on turn at the bottom of 4, which meant that basically it came down to what cards Lee could draw or something. And he drew a 6-point sabotage. and Ed managed to eke the win by 1 point.
Yeah.
And I think, if it plays turn 5, Hardy still actually had a surprising amount of stuff left.
Yeah, I think the CSM go had been gutted pretty hard.
Hadn't quite hammered as hard home. But so it was a really interesting game, which could have swung either way, and Lee just edged it. But full credit to Hardy for, considering he had a bum turn 2, in terms of like his firepower didn't work and he didn't get the move box up that he would have wanted. I think full credit for him he played really, really well to try.
Yeah, it was a very good high standard game. I think probably one lesson for us is that we can set things up on the stream table and speed things along, give them a little bit of additional time at the start, etc. There's a bunch of ways. Stream games do take longer. It just is the way of them sometimes. So I think it's on us to accommodate that a bit more. We had a couple of games, especially the high level games where the time got a bit tight, right? So that's something I think we'll improve on next time.
And to our boys' point, it seems impractical when even top players time out. Basically, what we noticed this weekend is we're all very well drilled on UKTC events and how to set up the board, and you can get that done and you finish your time. You know how to conduct it. We were playing WTC boards with map packs that not many people had really used or seen before. I would imagine majority of the players there had never played or set up a map.
I would say most, yeah.
And so it was taking people like 15, 20 minutes to set up the board. And it was very noticeable that people were frantically rolling dice in pretty much every round towards the end just to try and get it done. And there was a bit more timing out than normal. I was trying to be really efficient with my timekeeping in terms of when I designed the itinerary, because I didn't want let's eat dinner at 9:30 kind of thing. I wanted it to try and get through a bit quicker. So we took some shortcuts, between round 2 and 3, I'd only put in 15 minutes, and we did actually extend that to 30 just because it was necessary. So I think we certainly learned some things there. But that was one of the reasons why this event we had time issues, was because people found it a lot harder to set up the boards.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to say elsewhere in the round we had all sorts of good games. There was one, Lucy Montgomery with her Tyranids and her Hierophant was playing Simon Rose Demons, lots of great and clean ones. I went over to that game a few times. It was just funny. There was a Hierophant sat in one place, Great Demons sat in another. Nothing wants to die. They're both having a very good time. So that was a very good close game. I think Jack Tight paired into Mark Cromwellholm. And obviously the new Orcs proved too much for the Dakka of the Necrons to overcome in that one. And then otherwise, a bunch of the players that you'd expect to be rolling on were rolling on. Jack Chapman took revenge on poor Patrick Stracari in the next round. I think Jack Chapman plays Stracari like 3 times at this event. I think that's probably the army he enjoys playing.
He plays every Stracari player. Yeah.
Enjoys playing them, probably the least of any army in the game, and he's just getting them every round, bless him. So a lot of fun had in that round as well. Was there any interesting points on the TOE, Rob, or was that all straightforward enough?
No, it was, again, really straightforward. I think we were all at that stream table several times, just doing extra little measurements. And
we were all a bit hypnotised.
What I really enjoyed was like the first time there was a question about the fight phase. So they're like, Tom, can you come over here? And they're like, can you just talk us through this? And Tom's like, you just see inwardly, he's like, oh no.
Yeah, I hate combat intent. I just hate.
It's so especially with the WTC stuff. So we had like.
But also, it was that fight you were describing, right? So I'm looking at that, going, I really don't. I don't want to have a deciding say in this. There's Incubi, there's Banshees, there's Possessed, there's Chosen. Everything is in, and I feel like if I impact it in any way, it's going to fold one way or the other.
So we just got him to roll a 4 up, right? And then that
absolutely. Yeah. I just actively picked some bits up and just flung them on. That'll do. There you go. You've got room now. It's fine. Ben, how did your round 2 game go, mate?
So I had the other Ynnari player there at the event. I'd not played them before, so I was like trying to do some mental maths on what they're going to do, and it ended up being a lot easier than I thought, because apparently Void Raven bombers kill lots of toughness 4 bikes really quickly.
I think pretty much. I mean, I was going to ask actually after, I didn't want to ask in front of him. Did it solo both the bricks in one go, or did you pick up a brick at a time? How did you
brick at a time?
Okay, you're not a maniac. I was like, it could do it
with sustained.
It absolutely could.
It could. No. Yeah, it was fine. And then my 15 brick court Like he did his funny, I'm going to follow your unit when you fall back thing. And then he quite lovingly cleared a space to fit my 15-man court in. Quite close to his home objective. So then they shot the incubi brick that had just moved away, cleared all that off. I then charged some Cabalites, and then managed to take his home objective. When he blew up his Venom, he brought the Cabalites out closer to my incubi brick. And I was like, thank you, sir. You know what? I think I will take that charge.
As Vic is always
from Deep Strike.
As Vic is always saying on Fireside, battle focus, don't mug yourself. Right? Yeah, it sounds like he's mugged himself a bit there.
He spent a lot of time screening and then
moved his screen out.
Nah.
But every excited, ooh.
I was like, okay, boom, let's go. So
very
was
nice.
The first foray to taking people's home objectives this weekend.
I was following your court around. It does that a few times before this event is done. It was the other thing that's worth shouting out is that there's a lad with a Valkyrie at this event. We talked quite excitedly about this on the Saturday night. But I watched that thing take at least 3 home objectives. So you're a hero. I can't remember your name off the top of my head, but chat with the Valkyrie, incredible work. That was what we wanted to be. That was what we're all here for. It got Jack Chapman very excited about Valkyries.
It was Sly Malbro jumping up, throwing grenades, popping back in, wasn't it? Always?
Yes, it's got Marbo, Sly, what's he called now? Marbo in there, and a command squad in there with like an Ogrin bodyguard as well. So they just hop out, and then if you try and shoot, they'll get back in the Valkyrie. Really, really, really funny. Well, boy says wasn't being specific to you guys, but diversity in standards only furthers my point. To be honest, it's a general issue. Yeah, it's interesting. I think this was. I think probably our community is a little bit more chilled, and also they were on very unfamiliar terrain. I think that definitely does exacerbate it. The stream site will get a hang of running. I personally at UKTC, I feel like that's been moving.
Yeah,
that's been playing really snappy lately.
Right.
I've had no complaints.
A standard UKTC event now, you won't really have any timekeeping issues. If you're playing at other
outside events, 1 or 2 players that always have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at other small events, maybe people who don't play tournaments as often, they will. You might only get to. If they spend a lot of time talking and thinking. But I think if you're a reasonably seasoned tournament player now, and you're at a UKTC event, 95% of the time, the game's finish. Fine.
100%. Which takes us to the final round of the day, round 3. Now, this was the stroppy round because everyone was tired. And this is when judge calls started to snowball and be happening quite a lot. And this was also when Rob Kimpton did his first ever stream commentary. So, Rob, how was this experience for you?
So, we had the New Orcs, and they were against Librarius, and I had no one in the stream team had a fucking clue what either army did. And for some reason, I jumped on that grenade.
It was good.
It was good fun. It was good fun. So, Ed had his super secret tech to take down Jack Tide. He even called him out in his list. It turns out his super secret tech was go first, unfortunately, and he did not go first.
Yes.
And it turns out the most oppressive thing in that orc list is 20 grots, because if you go second, you just don't leave your deployment zone unless they want you to.
Mm-hmm.
It was good to see it firsthand what it did, though. Seeing what it can do in a good player's hands, like Jack Tite, another very good player in Ed, who had a tech list, and there was just nothing Ed could do.
Yeah,
it was just a definition of how strong it was. Me and Darwood were just watching, going, "Oh, this is fine. You can have a counter punch." Then twice, just more boys got out of trucks. And we're like, "What the fuck? Where are these even coming from?"
Yeah, this actually lulled me into a false sense of security for the final because I'm just so used to watching. There's just always another unit. Coming out of these trucks. In the final, I was like, "Surely there is," and actually. Yeah. We'll get to. Finally, there wasn't. But actually, it's ridiculous. You've got a lot of stuff in Orcs right now. And obviously, the 20 grots, that's the Zodgrod unit, which if anyone, for the uneducated, is pretty wild in this new detachment.
So what do? It's Scout 9, move 12, advance and charge with +1 to wound, -1 to be hit. Is it -1 to be wound as well?
-1 to wound. Definitely -1 to wound.
-1 to wound.
+1 to hit and wound.
And
is it both? Wow.
Yep. And you have a 5+ invuln because you just spend a CP to put him in the war.
Mm-hmm.
So they kill 2 of your chaff units and stand there and probably don't die in the first turn.
That's more or less exactly what I saw them do a lot this weekend.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Hey, you know what else they do?
Go on.
They pistol Void Weavers to death. Really
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's quite funny. I think I was talking to Johnny and they did 5 wounds to one of his war dogs, Grots. Just Grots, not Snickrot, Grots. just ran over and just punched it turn one. Like, okay,
and if you can put that you can put one unit in the war, right? So that's like because they get the 12-inch move when they're in the war. They get all these things, and it's like, well, I'll just put that unit in the war then. Cool. Good luck.
Exactly. Turn. I listened to Jack Tai every turn one. Going to put Zogrod in the war.
Yeah.
He's going out, and it just makes it very hard. The Zogrod's perfect for like the beast. It's like I was saying. It's like imagine if the beast pack A was better, B had a better army behind it, and that's
three times as many
models. And 3 times as many models. That's the issue that you're dealing with there. It's the same effect. It goes really fast. It pins them in. It causes mayhem. And Zogrod is very, very dangerous, as John in the chat is alluding to. So I think that's one of those things, isn't it? And this was obviously Ed sort of dug in there and got some points, didn't he? Robbie didn't give up.
He showed what the detachment can do. Those Desolators with Fusillade are absolutely brutal. Crit 5s, it's scary. But
it's always crit 5s on Desolators with Ed. It doesn't matter what detachment.
It doesn't matter.
It's just a caddy for that every single time.
Crit 5s. Yeah, so it was a good game just to demonstrate what they do because a lot of people haven't seen it yet because it's only been out for 3 days, something crazy. It was good fun. Darwood's an absolute gent, isn't he?
So people beforehand were like, I'm not sure about being on stream because I don't know him. And I was like, honestly, when I sat down to do it at WTC, I'd not done it before, and he just makes you feel immediately part of the setup, and he covers all the angles. He's so good.
I met him 5 minutes before the stream, and it was like chatting to an old mate. So it was really nice.
He's just so nice. He's been in this game a while now, and he's just an absolute babe to do that kind of thing with. How is your journey continuing, Ben?
So, speaking of orcs, I got my first taste of orcs too. Ooh. So I got to play lovely Alex Chancellor from
of our team. Wonderful.
Yeah, of your team, who very swiftly told me how I'd been being coached by Tom to not play orcs like they're elves, but in fact to full send. Which is very quickly what happened.
We've been working on his differentials, and I'm pleased to say if you look at Alex's scores for this weekend, it's working.
He did them. He got them.
Yeah.
I got jailed and had to punch my way out of bloody Gaz sitting on my deployment line, and I did that only to be shot back into my deployment zone immediately. And I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't have any models left. What do I do?" It was a lot of fun though. He made it feel fun. I feel like
he's a lot of fun to play.
Felt horrible. It was great, and then he started joining in on the whole bully Ben culture that 6 months. And it was Alex too. Yeah, I encouraged him. It was.
I think we need to try and dial that back. What I've realised is Scrivo is egging it on because he's trying to avoid being a target himself. He's hoping to make you the butt of all jokes, Ben, and I won't stand for that.
Scrivo is my Samwise now. I'm Frodo. He is my Samwise.
Yes.
We're all good now.
It's all going to be fine. So that was the end of the tournament win as a possibility for you, Ben, obviously, but obviously still very much in the hunt for some more results. Chris, how did the rest of the round go? Any cool stories from elsewhere?
I don't know.
That's fine, Chris. I wondered if you might, but that's okay. Let's go
through.
What
was I doing? Oh, this was the first game I actually had a break, and it was quite nice just
playing Warhammer, talking about Warhammer. You had a tough day up to that point.
It was a rough time there, and I thought, I was going to chill out now, and got to wander up and down and see some games that I can't remember. I'm sure there probably were some exciting stories.
That's all good. I've got them up in front of me. We can pick some out. We had some very good players are starting to find their matchups and their levels now. So Kelvin, lovely Orc player, Kelvin and Patrick played out a 10-10 draw, absolute classic. Don Bold on his Army of Faith Sisters got a 10-10 draw into Matt Palmer's Zinch. There were a lot of quite different detachments being taken. Matt Palmer's Zinch is probably one of my favourites at the event, so well done, Matt, for bringing something really unique and interesting. But a lot of players got into the spirit of that as well. We had Sam Parker Holly was on his Brood Brothers. Aidan Brocklehurst tried out the Siege detachment, the sort of the shelling, I don't know, the artillery regiment thing in Guard. I've not seen anyone actually use that yet. So there was lots of experimentation going on. What else happened? Jamie East got absolutely smashed in by Mark Crumblehelm. That's always fun. And we had Harley immediately bouncing back by 20-0ing our very own poor Mark Milton, which is obviously very tough in that sense. And Josh Wood quite difficult day one continued by getting 20-0'd by Jack Donny's Adeptus Mechanicus. Jack Chapman beat up Simon Rose Chaos Demons, and Jack came over to me at one point. I've just killed 2 Great Unclean Ones in a turn. I was like, I don't think Nurgle Demons come back from that. I think that was quite difficult.
Not many armies can do that.
Yeah. That's quite impressive lifting from the new Tower Detachment. I'll be very curious to see what he actually thinks of that. And then one of the spicy games as far as the top placings were down at the bottom tables, actually in the lower room, where Johnny Simmons on Chaos Knights beat Courtney Rhodes on the more detachment. Now, Chaos Knights we'll get to a bit later, but maybe emerging as a very strong pick in the current metagame for a bunch of different reasons. Johnny perhaps knows these things and certainly has had his Chaos Knights out in recent times and has been taking some names with them. And so that was one of the big scouts of the weekend. And then, fresh from beating Harley, Lee Churchwood ran into a guy with 2 Dreadnoughts and a Dream, our very own Paul James. And I came over and this was, again, I came over and it was the same exact board state for 3 turns. The key difference being slightly less possessed and slightly less chosen every time I looked. And it was Murderfang and Bjorn just absolutely taking a Bile army apart on their own because the Bile...
He was just like, they won't die! They just won't die!
So Paul taking a big scout there. Paul obviously on a fantastic run that weekend as well. So then it was time for some refreshment, wasn't it, Chris?
It sure was. There was a lot of refreshing going on. Some more than others, I guess we'd probably say. Some people like Jaeger bombs in the team.
Some people do.
Like lack of sleep in the team. And I think what I really liked was when we were at the bosses, which was the first place. There was like this huge table of like 20 people. We had another table up there filled with a bunch of people like never even met before. And then we had another table kind of further away. Like there was just loads of us in there, and the main feature story from the entire night was that Johnny stole my dinner.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna call you out, mind goblins, right now, you thieving bastards. You can have a word with Johnny. I was supposed to have a chicken kebab. He stole it. I had a lamb kebab instead. We've now
he's a smiling killer, isn't he, Johnny?
Yeah, I was about to say we've got beef. That'd be a terrible idea. So Johnny, I'm coming for you, mate. That was definitely the only important story from the night out.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's all that happened as far as anyone's concerned. And it was a lovely time, and everyone excelled at what they do.
One final thing: don't ever check Ed Watts' TikTok.
Yes, 100%. That was a mistake. But everyone involved will never ever do that again. James McGlutton asked, "Who's the man talking now?" Bottom left. That's Chris. That's our captain. That's the man that made this all happen. It's the boss. So the next morning, we awoke, some of us at different times, and stumbled down to the venue. And the mood is once again very chirpy. Everyone's sort of bubbly, looking forward to round 4. And this was your second stream game of the weekend, Rob. What did you get to cover in round 4?
It was. So we looked at the matchups, and there was 3 matchups we wanted to cover. And unfortunately, one of them was someone who couldn't go on stream. And then we had the choice of 2 mirrors.
Undefeated. Woo.
So, 2,500 points on each side of orcs, what it should be. Just shoot each other to death, and whoever gets first gets necroted. Or we could watch a Space Wolf mirror. So that's what we went for. So we had George and our own Paul playing Space Wolves.
Fantastic.
On Purge the Foe. So, we set up and we're like, okay, this could go one of 2 ways. There is going to be a massive brawl in the middle on turn 3, but unfortunately, both those players are quite good, and they know that if you do that, you lose. So we had a very tactical showing of Paul feeding out his cheap little shit units to make George throw out his bigger, more expensive units slowly.
Yeah, that was Paul's edge in this game, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that was one of his edges. The other one was the dice. Oh my god, I've never seen one-sided rolling harder in my life.
Oh man.
Just for context, everyone, this is what he does to us when we play on TTS.
It is.
In the team.
He's a stoic but deeply lucky person when he plays 40k. Never knows when he's beat, and then gets incredible outs a surprising amount of the time.
definitely happened to all of us at events. But yeah, it just swang Paul's way very aggressively with the dice. I don't think George did anything wrong. But if you want to see a play in how to stage your melee, how to push in places, and how to set up heroic interventions, it's actually a really interesting one to watch.
Very Space Wolvesy. Certainly sounds it. Yeah, absolutely.
So Champions of Ross detachment as well.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
The whole thing built around sagas, what your characters do. Like, how much more wolfy and in theme with the detachment can you get? It's great.
So good, and it turns like trash units into just tank killers as well, because you got full rerolls, you got normal force, it's very good, and actually I think probably quite well poised for the current meta for reasons we'll get to. But having lots and lots and lots of throwaway units that will kill their way through things is a pretty good vibe at the moment if you're scared about what happens to your expensive units.
Yeah, Paul definitely didn't one tap a Vindicator with a 5 Orphan.
No, that doesn't sound like something he'd do at all.
No,
he wouldn't dare.
Yeah, it was a funny game. It was a funny game.
Oh dear. And then Ben, you're back on the trail. What did you play round
back
for?
On the trail. So I had Stormlance, Dark Angels, a lovely guy called Darren, and he had his 15 Deathwing Knights and
Darren,
some other things. I was on Purge the Foe as well, so there's a minor bead of sweat as I think.
Yeah, there's something in the back of your head going, this is our worst mission.
Kill me a bit quicker here, right? Like this.
Yeah.
Okay. So he asked the question, can you kill 15 Deathwing Knights? And the response was yes.
Yes.
Very quickly. very quickly, sir.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how quickly they folded in the end. So yeah, that was. He was like, I didn't expect that to happen so quickly, and I was like, to be honest, mate, neither did I. I don't know what's happening, mate.
It's definitely something Drakari are capable of, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. But
Lilith loves the Deathwing Knight.
Yes, it was quite sad for him though, because he didn't get his first kill point until round 3, and I gifted him that. Because I failed a desperate escape test with a grotesque to finish the last one off. So his Deathwing Knights went into the Beast Pack and left the Clawed Fiend alive. How that just doesn't happen.
No,
it's supposed to just die. But sure,
unreal.
Poor Darren.
So back on the winning trail though, smashing through some Dark Angels. And Chris, how was your morning?
Wow, I was surprisingly refreshed, I would say.
Yeah.
And I wandered around and had a lovely chat with people, and just started thinking about all the little jobs that we had to do to get ready. Davey was busy working out best sports scores.
We had a very intense best sports scoring system.
Yeah, so players had to, after each round, rate their opponent in 3 different categories. And then that contributed as well, not only to best sport, where we had 3 different prizes for that, but also the best overall. And so we were starting to get a vibe for how people were going. What was really nice is nearly all the time people were getting at least kind of like 7s or 8s. There were a couple of lower scores, but generally lots of like good scoring there for people. And yeah, it was just nice to relax on a Sunday morning, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the big stories of the morning was whether Ed Watts would make it on day 2 or not. In the end, he did, and he played a lovely game and beat Sam of sort of
Sam, who I've spoken to once at an event for, but genuinely, like, what a nice guy.
Oh, he's so cool. Really like him. Yeah, and it's Sam. It was really cool seeing his Lamatis in the flesh. That's a Lamatis that won one of our painting competitions, and it's just so beautiful. He's got some absolutely stunning models. Elsewhere, Jack Tight triumphed in the Orc Mirror, and Jack Tight turned to me and said, I'm very glad I got the Orc Mirror on Purge the Foe, because it is, in fact, one of my more difficult missions. And sometimes you just know that Destiny is starting to curl its fingers around an outcome, and that certainly felt like one of those moments. What else did we have? There were some victories for Josh Wood. He beat our very own Dave Murdoch, Astra Militarum, going through the Vanguard Nids.
Obviously, we had Johnny versus Aidan, the Mind Goblin off,
Yes.
The other two undefeated.
That was a big game, yeah.
And Johnny prevailed there with his Chaos Knights.
Yes, yeah. So Johnny was on a real run with the Chaos Knights. So that set the scene, really, for our final. We only had a handful of undefeated, didn't we, Chris, at this point?
We had Johnny, We had Johnny, Chaos Knights. We had Jack, Orcs. And we had Paul, Space Wolves. Two of those people would be playing against each other, and one of them would be paring down. Jack was in the lead on points, Johnny was in second, and Paul was in third. And then, we hit the button, and we waited to see what would happen. And it's destiny. We knew what was going to happen, didn't we? It was, of course, Jack Tight versus our very own champion of 6++ for the weekend, Paul James. Now,
champion of Plus.
It would be fair to say that Jack has had some experiences against Paul in the past. Paul certainly, out of all of us, certainly causes the most of a headache for Jack.
Because he will attempt things Jack doesn't think someone will attempt.
A teams event where Paul managed to one-shot Jack's Land Raider with like one melter shot, one hunter killer missile, and an assault cannon, and then park his whole army in a magic box in the middle of the board.
Oh yeah, I forgot that one.
Or another time where was he playing Jack? He got a draw against Jack, but Jack was on Sisters or something. I can't remember. He just does ludicrous things against Jack with dice.
Doesn't know when he's beat.
And we're all sat there like, well, if Jack goes first, surely this isn't a game. It just can't be a game. We can all see that Zogrod unit is going to move forward. He's going to terraform. GG. Even Jack's like, look, if I go first here, I genuinely don't see how Paul can dig himself out. So we've got that game. We're like, well, we've got to put that on stream, but it might be it might turn out to be a bit of a rubbish final. Let's hope not. We've then got Johnny, who has paired into our very own Lee Churchwood. That's a very exciting game. The problem we're all trying to address is the fact that, well, I don't think Bile really runs in and punches knights particularly well.
Having seen it struggle to kill 2 dreadnoughts,
yes,
I was like, 13 knights feels like quite a lot for it.
Quite sad times. So those guys are playing for the championship. We've then got a very exciting matchup in Harley's Unai versus Alex's Orcs. We're very curious to see how that one goes. We've got lots of people who are very much in for best sport. Quite a few people there. And best overall is between about 6 people going into the final round. There's a lot to do. And we're starting to work out things and get all the prizes ready and stuff. And Tom, you got to commentate on the final.
I did, yes, I did get to commentate on the final. And this was a very interesting game to watch purely because I think it demonstrates how momentum can shift in a game. And how in those final couple of turns, things can suddenly, if positioning lands up in certain ways, things can suddenly really claw back the other way. So I owe Paul a big old apology for ever doubting his son. You were right in that game, and I think in my commentary at a couple of points, I'm perhaps not telling that story because I don't think that's how we thought it was going to go. But this essentially plays out. Jack does get first turn on Terraform. He does push very aggressively with Zogrod. He does start using his little units to bait Paul out on sort of raw trading terms. Anything Paul sends is going to die because Jack has looters and flash skits for days, shock attack guns everywhere. So Paul starts trying to swing back against that, deny some primary. He fails a charge in one point, which I think helps get Jack's primary going. So he's in a difficult spot on the tempo from the start. But then some magical things start to happen. Some looters pop up on one flank and blast some stuff next to Murderfang, but not Murderfang. They're like, no, we don't. He looks fine. We'll leave him alone. We're going to shoot some other guys. At which point, Jack discovers that Murderfang can fit through the building ahead of him. I think he'd thought that Murderfang didn't fit through the gap. One of the funnier TO calls I've made is showing Jack that we're measuring the width of Murderfang and looking at where the wall is supposed to be. And we're like, I think he definitely does get through there, unfortunately. And again, Jack is one of the best sports in the entire world, so literally completely unfazed. Like, sure, yeah, no worries. It definitely looks like he fits. Murderfang then kills 10 looters in a shock attack gun pretty quickly and aggressively. and starts the beginning of what will eventually be a collapse on one of Jack's flanks that I don't think he was expecting. And that changes the overall tempo of the game a little bit. Now, Jack brings in lots of orcs. They shoot lots of marines. The marines fly out. They make a lot of charges. They kill a bunch of the orcs. Then another wave of orcs comes and kills all those marines. Paul is left with essentially a captain, Bjorn, and Murderfang. And over 2 turns with those units, he claws back something like 25 points on the deficit. And it boils down to he auto passes a captain, so a captain can do a 6-point sabotage in Jack's deployment because that flank's completely gone. Bjorn waddles to the middle as Bjorn is wont to do in these stages of a game. And a shock attack looter squad come flying out in Jack's final turn to try and clear him. Roll a bunch of shots, get a bunch of hits, get a bunch of wounds through. Jack rolls like all 1s and 2s on the damage. Bjorn is still very much alive, standing there in the middle of the board. So it's looking really, really bad for Jack at this stage because he's stuck in Bjorn's aura. He can't do anything strats-wise to react to anything Bjorn might do in the final turn now. And then just as Paul is about to claim a glorious 10-10 from the ashes, Bjorn fails his battle shock test, and that's it. It's over.
and
that was it. Like, absolute tragedy. And Jack was crushed for Paul. Paul was absolutely crushed as well.
Yeah,
unreal.
It was like, because obviously I was dipping in and out of the commentary to go and get like stories and like bring them to the stream and that when I remembered. And I was sitting there and we would chat when we told him, and it was just like, Paul's got nothing left. Right?
He had nothing from about turn 3 onwards, right?
A bunch of long charges, I think, turn 2 or something.
At the very least, more charges than I think Jack was hoping for. Anyway.
Yeah. and then obviously with 3 units, your options for cards are quite restricted, but Paul was able to get those cards, and you could just imagine. And then it comes down to that final roll, the entire tournament, because Johnny has managed to defeat Lee, so that means that we've got Jack knows he just has to win this game to win the event. Jack has been so confident; he's basically tabled his opponent. Jack, by his own admission, made a bunch of mistakes turn 2 in terms of positioning. He got things wrong. He didn't play it very well. Paul was able to punish that. Jack opened the door and Paul
Murderfang waltzed through.
Smashed through that, and the entire tournament comes down to Paul needs a 6 on 2 dice.
Flipping battle.
And you could just see Jack being like, "Not Paul again." And
he had just conceded it. He was like, I think this is 10-10. He had literally just reconciled it. Then they remembered the battle shot because Bjorn's on like 2 wounds, and then Bjorn fails. It's just unbelievable scenes.
Jack Tight's the champion,
and Jack Tight wins. Yeah.
How often do whole tournaments come down to the final roll of a dice? Like, that's pretty rare, isn't it?
It was crazy. And I think considering how we were feeling about Orcs and the state of the game and the matchup at the start of that game, that was reassuring in some ways. Although if anyone's in any doubt about what it's like playing against New Orcs, Paul was up against the wall quite a lot in that game, doing what I can only describe as Ben Afflecking. I don't know if you've seen that meme where Ben Affleck's having a cigarette and he's just like the whole weight of the world is crushing him existentially. Paul spent most of the game on the wall just like, oh my God, this is horrible. And it was a great game to watch, though. Incredibly sporting. Both players had a fantastic time. And just, that is our guy, right? Paul James never knows when he's beat. He will always dig in. He will always find opportunities. And to almost snaffle out a draw in that game in such crazy circumstances would have been really, really cool. As it was, the Dice Gods were like, 6 or plus aren't allowed to do too well at their own events. Took it off Paul. And next time he'll get him. So yeah, incredible game. As far as the rest of the round goes, what was going on in terms of your experiences, Rob and Ben?
So I had another Dark Angels match.
Oh, good.
More Deathwing Knights. How wonderful. So it turns out my boys had been bigging me up to said Dark Angels player Chris. Been like, nah, he murders Marines for fun. Like, you've got no chance here. So I feel like they put some sort of cursed juju on me or something. It all went very quickly wrong. So I got some kill secondaries turn 1. I went for some kills, left lots of things on 1 wound, ran out of pain tokens, and then was very quickly kicked backwards off the board. And I was like, oh no. Same thing happened turn 2, and I was just like, right, this is done now. So
no rerolls, no party. Yeah.
I mean, I managed to pull it back for I think it was 16-4, 15-5, something like that.
Okay.
So I was quite happy with that in the end, but I was like, yeah, that very quickly went bad, and I am blaming my teammates for.
I agree. They've
trying to pick me up. They've done me there. If they put the expectation on, and I did not live up. So
absolutely, Rob. Any other exciting memories from that round, mate?
I think it's just you hit the round 5 and everyone's so evenly matched. It's like every game was just whether it was super competitive or super chill. It was just everyone was just on the same level at every table. It was just really nice to see people just having a great last game.
Yeah, completely. And there are lots of draws, lots of really close games as well. Some really, really cool results. And obviously, as alluded to, Johnny Simmons triumphed over Lee Churchwood.
Yeah.
Harley Scully triumphed over the New Orcs and Alex Chancellor in a Plusoff. And obviously, Jack Tight triumphed as well, which set the scene for the end of the event in the awards. I don't know if we're saying what everyone won. I guess we are, aren't we? We make sense. We've come this far,
guys. Right, so I'll see if I can recreate the exact thing and take the 45 minutes that it took. To be fair, it was actually a bit quicker. I thought. No, so
I think you managed it very snappily, mate. Don't you beat yourself up.
We don't need to go over the raffle. I mean, prize draw.
Yes, we won't go. The only important thing in the raffle is that Jack Chapman plays Emperor's Children now, and I'm here for it. That's the only thing.
Single phase name.
Yeah, we did have a wonderful prize draw, and we should probably mention a huge thank you to everyone who donated prizes. All the prizes there were just gifts from people. We didn't spend any money buying things to put in the prize draw. People just donated crazy things. Mark Cromholm basically donated enough money so we could buy the Emperor's Children box, that sort of thing.
What a hero.
So there's a wide variety of things there. And obviously Jack Chapman managed to win the Emperor's Children box. So Emperor's Children main, Jack Chapman.
Try a bit of melee, Jack. You might like it. Yeah. Give it a run. Go on.
No, in terms of prizes, so we did give a little certificate to Jerry for coming furthest away. Best painted went to Kai.
His knights were amazing.
Knights were
beautiful. The glows on some of those were just incredible.
His what do they call them? Nurglings. They were the best thing in the army. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
They were tiny little mech Nurglings. They were
that's
cool.
So good.
Cool. He's got a store on Etsy, and he's got an Instagram page, Melted Minis. So go check out Melted.
I would definitely like to see more of his work.
You can literally go to his Etsy store and buy some of his painted stuff. So it's very cool. He also won the wooden spoon. So there you
did, yeah.
Double prize for Kai. Well done.
Cannot be stopped. Yeah.
Best sport. So third place was our very own Dave Murdoch. Second place by 1 point, Lucy, Patrick's partner. Well done, Lucy. Awesome.
And Hierophant OP, nerf Hierophant.
Yeah. And then it's just such a sporting model, isn't it?
It just is. You're not going to forget that in a hurry.
And then the winner was Don Bold.
Yes.
Who I hadn't met before, but he was just so lovely. He's also a primary school teacher, and we are all amazing.
That is true.
Very secondary, but he was just genuinely such a nice guy with a very cool sisters list. So well deserved there. Bang average award for the person that comes halfway down the list is bang average. Obviously, it had to be a 6++ member that won it, didn't it? Mark Milton won the objective markers that he'd been too cheap to buy when we'd done the order. Kind of a bitch. So that's just cost me 20 quid, dickhead. And then obviously we had Best in Faction awards. Those were for people outside of the top 3. So we had Best. So Imperium went to Aiden with his guard. Chaos
got a lovely servo skull, didn't he?
Yeah, the trophies were really cool. I can't even remember the company I bought them from now, but yeah, they were like genuinely like amazing trophies. Best Chaos was Lee, our very own Lee Churchwood. Best Space Marines went to Chris with his Dark Angels. I felt so sorry for Paul. Like Paul had done so well the whole weekend, got to the final, had been one dice roll off, I guess, second place, or third place, and just got trashed down to like 7th because he failed.
It's the finalist curse, man. It happens.
It's brutal.
It's one of the 2 fates available in a final a lot of the time.
I mean, and it was all Ben Pearce's fault because he lost to the guy that Chris who.
Yeah, it's true. He couldn't even stop Chris, Ben.
And best send-off went to Courtney Zorks, who came 4th. And in terms of our podium, 3rd place, Harley. Shout out to Harley. He went 20-0.
Well done, Harley.
9 loss, 9-11 loss, 20-0 win, 20-0 win, and then I think it was like a 15-5 into Alex, 16-4 something. So
practice on WTC terrain started to show for young Harley. Definitely quite an experienced hand. Really well done.
Which meant that Johnny and Jack were our 2 undefeated players, and Johnny came 2nd and Jack came 1st. I did have a very special certificate planned, which was the Conqueror of Tights. It was going to be for the person that beat Jack by the most. Unfortunately, that did not happen, so it was given to him. Jack Tight was the Conqueror of Tight. And then that left the final award, which is obviously the most important one, which is to be a wonderful hobbyist, a wonderful sport, and be reasonable at the game. And that was Mr. Ben Pierce, won best overall.
Yeah.
Won a beautiful crown. Probably more importantly, won a
very well deserved.
There we are, Aragorn himself.
Aragorn's
back. He got a nice little gift. We were very lucky with our prizes. We were able to give some really nice gifts away to everyone. And he's going to have a portrait drawn by Scrivo as well, which
I'm very excited to see that.
And yeah, obviously we then did the raffle after, and everyone began their long journeys home. But it was just such an amazing time. I always thought I might get a bit bored running an event or something, but I think because it was more an event than, let's say, just a tournament in sports, or I think it was a bit more gratifying for us. But it was something we're very keen to do. We've got a couple of ideas of how we want to, of where the direction we want to go with our events. But yeah, we will definitely be doing it again. Our goal is to have more than one a year. Our goal is to not just be doing singles, but be to doing teams as well. And so, yeah, you guys get ready to come to Barnsley.
Yeah, I'm afraid Barnsley is simply too good to not be up to, as is Prestige Wargaming. So we're going to keep that one rolling. We're onto a good little gem there. Yeah. So a lot more to plan, a lot more to scheme. It's going to be great. And thank you to everybody.
I think the most important thing we should probably add, though, is the tone of event was set by you guys that are running it. You three, Davey, Scrivo, you set the tone perfectly. You guys are some of the most lovely people in 40k that anyone could get on with, and you ran a fantastic event. And I think if we can get a big round of applause from somewhere.
Oh, that's very sweet of you, Ben.
You guys were amazing all weekend.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
You did great. You did great. All of you did great.
We had a goal, and thanks to the people that came, I think we were able to achieve that. And it's
100%.
As I said to everyone, we could have run this event, and we could have done everything we could, and 60 people, certain types of people could have shown up, and we wouldn't have had the same event. And so I think, yeah, absolutely, it was wonderful to have so many people come along who were kind of trying to do that sort of play in that way and create that sort of atmosphere. So it was awesome. And obviously, you are literally the king of that, Ben. So well done.
Yeah, reflects very well on you, doesn't it? Very, very
I'm keeping
exciting.
the crown. I'm not bringing it back.
So it's awesome. I like it. I mean, now Trash have a pairings princess tiara for the ITTs whenever you need one as well. So you've got the option there.
We'll have to work out how to do pairings first.
I think basically you wear that, you pair what you want, and then the rest of them go hang. I think that's as good an approach as any, Ben. Have fun.
That's the pairing princess way.
That is what the pairing princess should be doing. So fantastic. All right, that's the story of our first ever GT. There will be more. So we'll let you know when we know, but we obviously need to just have a little rest.
A little break, a little debrief.
A little break, a little sleep.
There will be a feedback form going out to players. I'm working
Yes.
on it at the moment. So if you did, we already had people asking, is there a feedback form? I was like, oh, no. Yeah, we will do a form just because we obviously tried lots of things at this event. You know, it was like it was WTC, it was the War Masters map pack, it was differential scoring. You know, like we were trying to have like the WhatsApp groups and stuff. Like we did try various things. So it'd be very interesting to get feedback from people about what they liked, what they would like, the little tweaks. I don't think we've got anything majorly wrong, but it would be the little things to really try and fine tune it. Would be the goal next time.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I don't want to keep these fine folks up too much later. We're going to rattle through a couple of podcast questions. Obviously, if anyone has any in the chat, they can throw them in, and then we will call it a day. I'm going to just pose one puzzler to our other hosts before we dive into the podcast questions. Which is, what did you learn about the state of the game post data slate from our event? How's it looking?
Orcs.
Orcs.
So we did play Battle Point to Scrivo's Orcs, and let me tell you for free, it is pretty painful. It turns out that if you design something with it's sustained too, but you know they hit on 6s, so it doesn't really matter. And maybe we'll give them some pluses to hit. Maybe we'll give them some rerolls. Maybe we'll even give them full rerolls. It turns out it skews the maths somewhat in such a direction that it is pretty stupid. And in any sort of straight gunfight, they're just going to win. They've already got so much stuff. They can just run at you if they want. They can just, they could stat check you some lists just by having loads of T5 bodies.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you come out to play, you get annihilated with shooting. If you're trying to tag them, well, you know what, they've still got some attacks and still going to punch you. It's going to be a bit annoying. They've got one of the most ridiculous units in the 20 grots, which are just creating such a ridiculous board state situation.
Yeah.
Yes, they are absolutely, of course, beatable. You know, it's not like our entire podium was made up of.
Yeah, they definitely dropped games.
And they can do that for sure. And, you know, you are going to have a skill level there, but they can also really, really punish the opponent for not getting it right. A bit like Yanari, but without the frailty. You know, there's like they're just going to punish the mid tables. I think just by you decided to show me some of your models. We're all dead. Bring it on. Well done. You killed 20 grots. Here's some more. The rest of you's dead. Cool. That was fun. Yeah. See you later. So I'm very curious to see, as Tom's mentioned, Chaos Knights seem to be doing well in the meta at the moment. Knights had a good win percentage.
Yeah, Knights in general, I think, might be hitting a good point.
So it's because you're trying to design lists to now kill all the Knights and also kill 120 orcs. That does pose some list building issues.
Yeah, everyone's like, fire dragons are useless in the orc matchups. Like, yeah, but you might want them when 13 dogs come your way. So
so I think probably, in my opinion, the only unit that kind of does it all is probably Shining Spears.
I was thinking
secret tech.
60 witches with lance in Sky.
Yeah, that is.
You could have both.
I think you need. You actually can run both. Yes, 100%. And yeah, I think Shining Spears are 100% the answer, Chris. I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Cool. Yeah. It's a secret tech. 6+ secret tech.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Patented. Yeah, but I think that's right. Demons seem to have a big shot in the arm. There are lots of different flavors of demons out. Demons players look to be enjoying it, and I think there's some quite cool Bellicor lists and some stat checky lists. Corn demons are very much back as well. And those are the main takeaways for me, really. And then it was business as usual. Didn't see much by way of guard. I don't know if that was just the players. Piccolo says, Tom, I want you to be right. It doesn't matter if I'm right. Whether I'm right or wrong, I'm going to run 6 Shining Spears around for a whole weekend, and I really need that. I haven't had like a silly weekend on 40k in a long time, and I think 6 Shining Spears are going to provide that kind of entertainment for me. Maybe not my opponents, because at the end of the day, Yunari Shining Spears are still deeply unpleasant to play against, whether they're an optimal choice or not.
I've used them before, and it's like, oh, okay, you've killed something cool. This unit's going to move 14 inches. Oh, 16 inches all the way to your backfield. Oh,
and it flies over walls. Oh, it goes to your
wall in the way.
Yeah, exactly. So they are, they are really.
Or if
really,
you roll
really
below
funny.
average, they're a complete waste of time. But who cares?
Yeah, there is that. But we'll see. I have faith in my Spears. They're going to get it done. So we'll see. I think the meta at Southampton will be made clear. My gut instinct is that Orcs will win Southampton fairly happily, and then with any luck, we might see some changes to Orcs, which will then flatten everything down. But I think it's going to be interesting to see if anyone's cooked up anything meaningful. Certainly all the top players there are running Orcs, I think.
Thinking we were on WTC, which is usually the densest board, and Orcs were doing what they were doing, it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think that'll be the story of the meta for a little while. So diving into the podcast questions, Adam says, do you still think it was the right choice to ban Codex Moth from the 6++ GT? It was a tough call.
I don't know. Having seen what Orcs could do,
Moth would have actually hoovered them right up.
No, I mean, Moth does answer most problems. Maybe the next one.
I think we were just trying to keep things balanced and happy, and that was our mistake. But Moth will probably feature at the next one. Maybe that should be our ringer. If we write Codex Moth, Codex Moth in future, the ringer game you'll play against Codex Moth. I think that'd be great. Oh God, got a fresh question from Scrivo just come in. Why didn't Ben just use the Eagles to get to Mount Doom?
Well, sure.
Oh dear.
God love him.
And then Hannibal asks, where do you draw the line between legitimate use of a stratagem like Mists of Deimos and having a gotcha moment on your opponent? How much notice is reasonable? Oh, that's a great question.
I think keep reminding to a point. So if it looks like someone is about to completely disregard anything I do, particularly if there's lots of reactive move stratagems in the game now, I'll sort of just remind people again at the start of their moving phase, like, don't forget there is a reactive move in here somewhere. Or don't worry about it. I don't have 2 CP, so completely run at me. I don't care. There's nothing I can do. It's just little things that, not necessarily, it's not going to come to the point and be like, oh, I've got a reactive move, don't do that. Give them the start of the phase. You've given fair warning.
Yeah.
And that point, it should, in theory, be in their mind. And I think there can be too much of an overplaying. Like, let's not remind them every single move they do, because otherwise you're just taking something that is essentially a good rule for you to have away from yourself, because you're trying to not let someone fall into a trap.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a nice balancing act. But I think start of the phase is fair.
Start of the phase feels very reasonable, because, as you say, I think you can just effectively not play with tools, and lots of armies have tricks. Their purpose is to have tricks. If they don't use tricks, they suffer, because that's baked into what they do. I think the other thing with something like a reactive move or many different gotcha things is that if you are literally advising your opponent what to do in their turn, you're steering them away from certain situations and directions, right? And that's actually, you may not, with the best will in the world, you may not be a neutral party in that, and you actually, don't come here, I've got a reactive move, might actually end up, having a huge impact on the game, when actually they were better still going that way anyway. And so I think start of phase feels pretty reasonable. Anyone else think any differently?
I think for me, it just comes down to what sort of player you want to be. I think no one can have any issues if you go at start right. So just so you know, I've got Mr. Deimos. It does this. It's an incredibly powerful ability. Just remember it. And you can go about that. You've told them the stuff. If they forget, that's on them. You can absolutely play like that. I know Jack Harpster would always be like, are you sure? Are you? And this is how I personally used to play it every time. Right. So are you moving 9? Are you okay to trigger mists? That's just how I wanted to approach it. The idea being that, in theory, if you get it right, then whatever they do, they're fucked, right? You've put that. When I've got games right with Grey Knights, the only unit out there which is going to get approached is the one that I'm missing away. And either way, whether I can miss or not. Hopefully I've put in a position where they've got to trigger my mists. But either way, I've created a situation where I'm happy either way. So therefore, it doesn't matter what they do. And I mean, it's stuff I remember we played a scrim against Luxembourg, and I reminded him at the top of 2, about it. He was like, yeah. And we got to turn 3. I didn't remind him. And he just literally walked straight. I remember being on the chat and being like, well, I've set up miss, but he's easy to walk around. He just walked straight into it. And like just suddenly gave me a bunch of prime. And I was like, are you sure? Like, do you remember I do have like miss here? And he was like, oh no, it was sigil in this case. But I was like, yeah. He was like, oh no, I totally forgot. And I was like, it's fine. Like, you just don't worry about it. Just take it back. And then afterwards, I was like, so like, do you think I should let you take that back? And he was like, well, WTC, like, I mean, you told me at the start of the game, you told me turn 2. I should probably remember by turn 3. Like, so again, I think it's as long as you are doing what you personally feel is right, and you make it very clear to your opponent how you're gonna kind of manage it. I think you just do what you feel. I mean, I hear so many people say, "Oh, well, obviously, like, I wouldn't let them get away with it if it was if it was in the final or a really important game or whatever." Like, I hear that all the time from people. I was like, but it didn't really matter at that point. I'm like, I don't agree with that. I think you should have your way of playing and it should be consistent. And if I was in the final of a massive tournament and someone triggered my miss, I would like to think I would still be, look, you've moved within 9. Are you sure you want to trigger that miss? And I think that would be my goal because that's just how I want to play the game. But as long as you're fair and consistent, and you have actually told them, then I think
that's a big thing, right? They do need to actually have been told at some stage.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm really good at talking my way out of wins because if anyone's ever played me, I don't shut up while I'm playing, and everything's by intent and everything's talked. So there's very little surprises in my games, I think. But
I want to move here because if you do this, I'll trigger miss, and if you do this, then you won't. But I'll be able to do this. Yeah. So over to you, and they're like,
and then I clock myself out, so it's all good.
Eldar is not the one for this, having played 2 games of it. Like, it's just that whole book is just bullshit that you can do when someone's not expecting it.
Is it when they start saying "can you" and like that's how fun you say yes?
Yeah, it's just after playing it now for the first time. If you're trying to be nice and sporty, I don't know how I play games. I don't know how I navigate this. By about 2 turns in, I was like, I'm just going to forget I've got this because it's too much right now. I don't.
There's a nice shout out to the Yunari player that was at the event. He had my bullshit sheet printed out that he would give his opponent.
He did.
So he would say,
he didn't give it to me. I didn't get it. I had to work it out.
I think that's an interesting point. Like, you take something like Grey Knights, you have like the 1 or 2 tricks compared to something like you can't go like, well, just remember if you do this, I'll be able to do this. And then 1 movement later. Oh, and there's actually 2. You have so many possibilities of different things you can do. There just does come a point with that where you kind of like, well, do I keep reminding them? Do I just be like, look, this is going to be bad for you? In your head, like, they do something, you're like, oh, that's really bad for them. Like, do I tell them that's like they shouldn't do that? But then you're suddenly making tactical decisions for them of what you should and shouldn't tell them, because maybe they'll do something. You'll be like, that probably won't affect the game too much. You'll just give me a little something, so I won't tell them. You're suddenly managing both aspects, both sides of the table. So that makes it really hard.
It feels very Strands of Fatey because there's just so many different things going on. You're like, any one of these little combinations could be absolutely enormous in a game, but it's hard to know how it all cascades, really. Yeah, it's a bit much, but we'll see. We've got a question from Stephen Neal in chat who asks, what do you think of the Lions of the Emperor detachment?
Well, I've played 2 games with it, guys, so
nice.
I'll tell you what not to do. No, I think it's really cool. It certainly made me want to play some Custodes some more. I mean, I just kind of ran it a bit of a run and punch things kind of thing, and I got my ordering and wrong. I think there is power there. I think the gut instinct to launch into a ton of Alara's Terminators isn't the way forward. I have ran a unit of 5 twice, and both times I actually just pretty much ended keeping them as the 5s because I needed that kind of brick. Custody guard are probably the way forward. Just bricks of custody guard, because you've got your double shooting. You've got the +1 to wound if you're on the objective. The hardest part is that the army is designed to be this little ball of death, ploughing through an area of the board, setting up heroic interventions and all that sort of thing. And therefore, immediately you do that, you lose your entire detachment rule, which is be outside of 6 inches of your units to get +1 to wound. The +1 to hit's obviously not as important. Some of the character stuff is awesome. Like every single enhancement is good, but you're probably going to be putting 3 in. The low knock guy on a bike is one thing people are thinking. You can obviously just put it on a normal dude, but on a bike it does give you that bit more maneuverability. You've got the get back up guy is just going to be an auto take. And then the guy that can get to like strength 12 -2.
You gotta have him.
He's just an absolute
big smack.
I think you'll see. Like actually, we've got a scrim with Luxembourg coming up, and Paul James is going to be on the custodies. And actually, his list I actually really like. So he hasn't gone down grav tanks, but he's got like 3 little units of Alaris to split up because you do need presence across the board. He's got a Blade Champ unit. He's got like 3 or 4 bricks of the normal custody guard. I think you definitely need Draxus in. Draxus double firing with +1 to wound is a vibe. A normal Inquisitor has an anti or has a dev wounds gun. Doing that sort of thing is really powerful. And finally, don't take bikes, because I ran 2 units of 3 bikes and they are to shit. That would be my main advice.
It's pretty comprehensive, mate.
I think
it looks good.
I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I don't think it's about to start smashing aside everyone, but I think it is. I think it's going to be fun for Custodies players to use.
Mm-hmm. Rumour has it that Josh Roberts is playing it at the Goonhammer Open this week.
I'd be very interested to see what this
is. That's going to be very interesting.
I think you can still take 3 bricks of Wardens. I think you can take grav tanks or not take grav tanks. It certainly doesn't rely on Forge. I'd read a comment on our video about or I don't think it's that great and still relies on Forge World. It absolutely does.
Yeah, I thought that comment missed the mark somewhat. That was my
thought. You can take grav tanks, and on UKTC, 2 grav tanks could well still be the way, just because it's UKTC, and you kind of want that shooting. But on WTC and GW especially, you don't need grav tanks.
100%. Alrighty. And then we had one last question from Will Level. How do you decide between painting up a particular chapter you love versus a homebrew successor you also really like and think might be a safer option in the long run? So this is a Space Marine problems.
Mixed games, based on the same mixed games. Have a couple of units in one scheme, have them in another.
So one example of that from this weekend was Jerry. Obviously, his Vanguard army is Salamanders, but then he's added Calgar in, and he just painted Calgar as an Ultra Marine. So you've just got Calgar with his little Victrix running around with some Salamanders, and you know what? On the table, it's like, actually, that looks really nice. That looks really cool. Together. He's just chilled out with some Salamanders for the day. It looked really nice. It's tricky, isn't it? Because the way they design Marines always changes, and so that's the reluctance. I think these days probably just paint them how you want to paint them, and paint the chapters you want to paint, and you can use them as whatever, right? Like, that's the killer thing now. If you have a cool custom chassis scene, then go for it. But otherwise, I think just do whatever mad thing you want to do. I wouldn't know. I've never finished a Marine army, so
paint something you can finish. Then there you go. Pick a scheme you can finish.
Yeah, exactly. Very important. And on that note, we're going to call it a day. Thank you to everyone who came to our GT. You're all absolutely amazing. Thanks to everyone tuning in. You're amazing as well. We'll be back again very, very soon. Bye-bye.